Why did Anelka never reach his full potential?
Well, I think he left Arsenal far too soon. I think he was misunderstood. Actually, I think he was a great kid. He didn't speak English too well. I think people mistook that from sometimes that he was. I don't know if people thought he was being arrogant or distant. I thought he was a great kid. He was trying to open up to us, trying to speak. He was 17 years of age when he came in. I've never seen a 17-year-old quite like it. They paid £500,000 for him. I mean, when you look now at what Arsene Wenger was doing, bringing these, diamonds, rough diamonds into the football club, the Vieiras, Petit. Manu Petit was playing in as a fullback for Monaco, comes in and plays in our centre midfield. And he was truly magnificent. Him and Patrick Vieira were in a contest each week as to who was going to be player of the game. That was that good, and it was fantastic. I'll have those two in front of me anytime.
What was his attitude like on a day-to-day basis, Anelka?
Good. Nobody wanted to be... I remember we did 1v1s one day. Tony had the misfortune of being with him, and they had to send Tony in. He was so angry because he couldn't get near him. He had no backlift. He was like a gazelle. He just breezed through. He had Henri then took over. What a replacement that was! But would have loved to have seen the pair of them in the same Arsenal team. When we first came in, Jim, nobody had any idea of Anelka, and you saw the opposition responding. And I've been training against him all week, and I was giggling because they had no idea what they were going to be up against. And what I saw him do to defenders was ridiculous. The quality he had, honestly. But he still had a good career, Jim. He still won the Champions League with Real Madrid. He went to PSG. Yeah. But he became, a player that was travelling around. He went to Liverpool. He went to Chelsea. He's still an incredible talent, but it was a shame we lost him.
You look back at it now, Simon, and I think of Anelka, and I thought this guy is going to be a major star. And I think Martin's absolutely right when he says if only he stayed at Arsenal longer, we would have seen more of him at a level we knew he was at.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, he's had 13 clubs over 16 years. So there must be something in the reasons why he doesn't stick. He gets a move to Real Madrid, a big move that Arsenal couldn't resist taking the opportunity to cash in on that, perhaps because Henri was coming through as well. He then goes from Madrid to Paris Saint-Germain, then Paris Saint-Germain to Liverpool to Man City, Fenerbahce. Then he starts to go backwards a little bit, in terms of the size and scale of football clubs, ends up at Bolton Wanderers.
He's still their top goal scorer, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, no doubt a talented player, but there must be stick at a football club for any period of time.
Yeah.
Longest he was at was Chelsea, wasn't it, for 4 years?
I played with a kid who come over to England, and I definitely thought he was going to be better than the Brazilian Ronaldo, and that was Anelka. When he come over, he was about 17, and he was leaving Tony Adams and Steve Bold on their backside every 2 minutes. We used to do this one-on-one where we'd stand in between the halfway line and the 18-yard box, the forwards, and the defender would start on say the 18-yard line, and Jules Graham would chip a ball into you, and you'd have to run at the defender one-on-one, and then you'd have to try and beat the keeper. Well, I seriously don't think he ever missed. He'd get the ball and he'd leave all the defenders, whoever was doing it against him, and then Dave Seaman would come out and just go round him like he wasn't there. I seriously thought he was going to be the best in the world, and he should have been. Should have been as good as Ronaldo.
What do you think held him back, though, as a former teammate?
I don't know, really. He didn't really get involved with the lads at the time. I think a lot of the lads didn't really didn't really get on with him. They thought he was arrogant. I didn't. I thought he was a top bloke because I played in the reserves a couple of times when I was injured with him, and he was a good player. I don't know, that would be a question you probably have to ask him. He'd probably know that, but he should have been the best in the world.
Interesting. Okay.
At 17, he was. You couldn't. I don't know if someone could be that good at 17.
Mbappe.
I would say Anelka was better than Mbappe.
The other guy you talk about pace is Nicholas Anelka.
Oh, he was the quickest. Probably the quickest I've ever seen. He was only 18, 19, but he had the frame. He was 6'1", 6'2". Yeah, over 5 yards, definite. Thierry was, when he got into his stride, he was more of a 200-metre runner, where Nicholas Anelka would be gone. He'd be, over 10, 15 yards, where Thierry used to drift out onto the left-hand side, and once he got a run on someone, he was strong, powerful. And Nicholas was
sulky.
Nicholas was a great. He was
sulky.
a little bit when he first turned, but it's hard for a young 18, 19. He didn't smile a lot. He didn't really understand what the British guys were all about. I remember Boldy one day. He smiled. And then he went over and started rubbing his back. He thought he had wind. Remember when a little baby smiles and you want to have a little birth? He was rubbing his back and he didn't know what was happening. But yeah, he was a fantastic player. Arsenal got good money for him. They only bought him for $500,000. Sold him for 23.5 million now. And they bought the new training ground and they bought Thierry Henry with the money. So it wasn't a bad deal all round, really, for everybody.
I think what's interesting with Arsenal and Arsene Wenger, he had a different way of doing it when he first came in. That he'd buy players that were cheap, under the radar. People hadn't heard too much about them, and you still had unbelievable success.
Yeah, we did. That was Patrick, wasn't it? When Patrick came.
You think of Nicolas Anelka as well?
Yeah, but Nicolas at 17. Yeah, but when you listen to what was going on in France and how he got him out of Paris Saint-Germain at 17, arguably one of the best out of that Clairefontaine, academy. You speak to people like Thierry, and they always said, yeah, Nicolas is going to be the one.
He was the one.
To be honest, I'm not joking.
Unbelievable, right?
Like I said, when he came, obviously I got injured when we won the league, and I think he was 18, and he took over that season. The first training session we had with him, James, you knew.
Yeah.
Like I say, you cannot hold that force back. That's a force.
And I didn't really appreciate properly till I got the chance to play with him for half a season when he come on loan.
Hold on, where did...
Liverpool.
Oh, my goodness, I know you're going to say it.
Nicolas Anelka. I know he went off to Spain early, and maybe people remember who were old enough to that brief time at Arsenal. But this guy, super chilled, by the way. Not a problem.
Nice guy?
Yeah. People, he came with this reputation of being difficult. No.
Yeah.
Trained well, never moaned if he was on the bench playing, because we had loads of players at the time. A great lad. But his footwork, and the thing I've never seen anybody do that he did, was go from 0 to 60 so quick.
Yeah, that acceleration.
He'd stop people and then go. And he had, he wasn't, not a bad finisher, but not like you.
No.
Not like Mo or anything like that, Just got in great positions so often he was going to score because of his pace, but people forget his skill. But the one thing I remember about Nico was, I've never seen it before. It didn't matter how much rain there was, how soft or slippy the pitch was.
Moulds.
I
knew he was going to say that.
And I never saw him slip over.
Never?
I don't know how I did it.
Robert Key was like that.
I don't know how I did it. And I used to say to him, you're not only brilliant, you never slip over. How do you wear rubbers today? Because Anfield was beautiful on top, lush and wet, but firm underneath.
Yeah.
You think I've got to wear stud in case. Never slip.
Do you think when you think about Anelka, because we had Petit on the show on Drive, and he spoke about Anelka, and he said when Anelka was younger, obviously him and Thierry, Anelka was better. And I remember Gerard Houllier telling me Anelka was better as a kid. So do you think that he is potentially underrated when it comes to Premier League strikers? Because we always go, when you go Premier League strikers, you go, the greatest Thierry, Shearer, Kane. He never gets brought up. Do you think it's just simply because of his numbers?
Yeah, well, I think at the time here, because he left Arsenal quite early, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then he was away for quite a long time and came back and then had a spell with us, then Chelsea and whatever. Yeah. So most of the great strikers you talk about have this period where you see them season in, season out, season in, season out.
Yeah.
Because his was a bit stop-start, maybe that's why. But I think if he'd have stayed, if he'd have stayed at Arsenal, I understand why he left, but I had to get him in.
So that and his natural talent, do you think he's one of the most, I know you've played with some great players. Do you think he's one of the most naturally gifted players, like the most talented? No, I'm not talking about the best where they're
No, he was one of the most gifted, yeah. It was all easy for him. Wow. I mean, not technically brilliant, but gifted in terms of taking the ball, beating people, just to finishing a little bit, I'd say.
Yeah.
Snatched at things a little bit and tried to hammer things rather than sometimes.
Yeah.
But in terms of graceful, going past people, and players were terrified of him.
Yeah.
He had a game at Anfield once. I know we've got to move on, but he had a game at Anfield once against Newcastle. He absolutely ran the game and tore them apart. I can't remember who it was against, but they wouldn't want to watch it back. when other players are coming off the pitch, we have some good players.
Yeah.
And it was the first time some of the lads were coming off the pitch, like Mo and people like that, and Stevie going, oh my God. And then Julio, for some reason, I don't know why, He didn't sign him permanently and signed Diouf instead. El Hadj Diouf.
That was off the back of 2002 World Cup, though, wasn't it?
I think if we'd have signed Anelka, that's someone we could have won the league the next year.
Yeah.